A baby was born, but soon after birth, his biological parents made one of the hardest decisions of their lives. They gave him up for adoption. That little baby had no idea. One day, he would change the world. His name was Steve Jobs, the man who helped create Apple, the man who changed the way we use computers, music, and smartphones. But his journey was not easy. Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. His biological parents were not ready to raise a child, so Steve was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs. They loved him like their own son. Steve grew up in a simple home. His father was a mechanic. From him, Steve learned something very important. If you build something, build it with care. Even the parts that nobody can see should be made perfectly. This lesson stayed with Steve for the rest of his life. As a young boy, Steve was curious. He loved asking questions. He enjoyed taking things apart to see how they worked. Sometimes he became bored in school. His teachers thought he was difficult. But one teacher saw something different. She saw intelligence. She encouraged Steve to learn. That support changed his attitude toward school. As he grew older, Steve became interested in electronics. He spent hours learning about machines. He met engineers. He asked questions. He wanted to know how great inventions were made. Then, as a teenager, he met another young man who loved electronics just as much as he did. His name was Steve Wozniak. Neither of them knew it yet, but this friendship would change technology forever. And it would begin in a small garage. He knew how to see the future. One day, Wozniak built a small personal computer. It was simple, but Steve Jobs saw something bigger. He looked at the computer and said, "This is not just a machine. One day, every family will want one." At that time, almost nobody believed him. Computers were large. They were expensive. Most people thought computers belonged only in big companies and universities. But Steve believed something different. He believed technology should be simple, beautiful, and easy for everyone to use. In 1976, the two friends started a company. They called it Apple. But there was one problem. They had almost no money. They did not have a big office. They did not have expensive machines. So they started working in the Jobs family's garage. Day after day, they built computers. They tested every part. They fixed every mistake. Sometimes they worked late into the night. Many people laughed at them. Some people said, "No one will buy a computer for their home." But Steve never stopped believing. Then everything changed. Apple introduced the Apple II. It became one of the first highly successful personal computers. Sales grew quickly. The small garage company became one of the fastest-growing technology companies in America. Steve Jobs was still very young, but success also brought new pressure. Big companies were now watching Apple. Competition became stronger, and inside Apple, serious disagreements began. The company Steve had helped create was about to make a shocking decision. One decision that would completely change Steve Jobs' life forever. Apple was growing faster than anyone had imagined. Millions of people wanted Apple computers. Steve Jobs became one of the most famous young businessmen in America. It looked like he had everything: success, money, fame. But behind the scenes, problems were growing. Steve had big ideas. Some people agreed with him. Others did not. The leaders inside Apple began to argue. Meetings became difficult. Decisions became harder. Then, in 1985, the unbelievable happened. Steve Jobs was forced to leave Apple. The company he had helped create, the company he loved, no longer wanted him. He was only 30 years old. Steve later said that he felt completely lost. For weeks, he didn't know what to do next. Many people thought his career was over. Newspapers wrote about his failure. Some people believed he would never recover, but Steve made a different choice. Instead of giving up, he decided to start again. He founded a new company called Next. At first, it was not a huge business success, but Steve kept learning. He kept improving. Around the same time, he also bought a small animation company called Pixar. Many people thought it was a risky decision, but Steve believed in creative people. He trusted their talent. Years later, Pixar released a movie called Toy Story. It became a worldwide success. Millions of people loved it. Steve Jobs had proved something important. Failure is not the end. Sometimes, failure is the beginning of a better future. But the biggest surprise of his life was still waiting for him. The company that once asked him to leave was about to ask him to come back. In 1997, the impossible happened. Apple was struggling. The company needed help. And the man they once asked to leave was invited back. Steve Jobs returned to Apple. This time he had more experience, more patience, and a clearer vision. He believed that technology should be simple, beautiful, and easy to use. Soon, Apple introduced the colorful iMac. People loved it. Then came the iPod, thousands of songs in your pocket. It changed the music industry forever. But Steve was not finished. In 2007, he walked onto a stage with a small device in his hand. He smiled and said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." That device was the iPhone. It changed the way people communicate, the way people learn, and even the way people live. A few years later, Apple introduced the iPad. Once again, the world was amazed. Steve Jobs had helped create products used by billions of people. But behind his success, he was fighting a serious illness. In 2004, he was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. Even during treatment, he continued working, he continued creating, he continued believing in the future. In 2005, Steve gave one of the most famous speeches in history at Stanford University. He shared 3 simple stories from his life, and he reminded everyone of one powerful idea. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56. People around the world were shocked. Millions thanked him for changing their lives. Today, his legacy lives on. Every time someone uses an iPhone, a Mac, or an iPad, they're using the result of one man's imagination. Steve Jobs teaches us that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure can become the road to success if you never stop believing in your dream. Thank you for watching this inspiring story. If Steve Jobs' journey inspired you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs motivation, and subscribe to English Channel File for more inspirational English stories. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating, and remember, the people who believe they can change the world are often the ones who actually